Well, hello and welcome back, amazing parents. We're in our series, Fearless First Parents. And in this video, in the last video, we talked about how to program your child's heart. And in this video, we're going to talk about another very important topic regarding the heart, and that is how to guard your heart. So we know that Proverbs tells us that above all else, guard your heart, for out of it flow the issues of life. Well, that makes so much sense. We've talked about how all of our words and actions flow out of our heart. So if we don't guard our heart, then it's going to get damaged, and what flows out of it is going to be dysfunctional, right? And that happens to people all the time. We're all dysfunctional in some way or another. And so we've learned how to program our child's heart, but how do we guard it? How do we protect what we've written on their heart and prevent it from the enemy from sowing weeds in the beautiful seeds that we've sown in their heart, right? In the garden of their heart. So we want to start young, modeling for our children how to guard your heart by guarding their heart for them, because they obviously can't guard their own heart when they're very young. And they need us to do that. That's part of providing the protection. It's not just physical protection, but we need to protect them emotionally and spiritually so that they have a strong sense of security and safety in their life, which will give them the freedom to flourish. So above all else, guard your heart, for out of it flow the issues of life. So how do you help your child guard their heart? Well, I'm going to start off with some information from the book Boundaries that was written by Doctors Henry Cloud and John Townsend. And it's a pretty famous book. A majority of Christians have read it, and it talks all about how to guard your heart, because that's what boundaries are for. They're to protect us, our inner man, from being abused, manipulated, or controlled by other people. And so in the book, one of the most profound things that they say about children is that the ability to say no, well, this is about any age, the ability to say no is our most basic boundary. Someone asks us to do something, if we can't just say no when we want to say no, then we don't even have the most basic boundary in our lives. Now think about it. What do we tell our children not to do, or what do we punish them for traditionally when we tell them to do something? They're 2 years old. They say no, and we say, don't say that. So what happens is we're blocking our child's ability to say no, which handicaps them for life. And that's a quote from their book as well. And removes their ability to guard their heart. So I just want to mention here, we've talked, this course that I'm teaching you, the Fearless First Parents, is really 3 courses all in one. It's a lot of information, and I don't go deep into all of it. Some of it I do. But if you want to learn more about how to engage your child, and how to get around those no's without destroying your child's ability or freedom to say no, then you need to look at my course called 3 Simple Steps to Instant Toddler Obedience, because you can train your child to be obedient without taking away his no. And when you understand that no is a healthy developmental stage, you won't want to take it away, because you're taking away your child's voice and, like Cloud and Townsend said, his most basic boundary. So when you take away their no, you're also, they become compliant. Obviously, they'll do what anyone says. They'll just comply because they've been taught that saying no is not acceptable. So that's another thing that I talk about in the 3 Simple Steps to Instant Toddler Obedience, is the difference between obedience and compliance. And so that's a really helpful course. If you can go to my course list, and you'll find it there, and you can go through that course as well. When we demand compliance, we're destroying that most basic ability to guard their heart, because we're teaching them that they don't have the right to voice their own opinion, to say no, to reject someone's demands. And what we do is we send them out into the world uh, just ready to be used and abused by any and all when they have no ability to say no. And I can speak from a lot of experience in that area. So anyway, I think a lot of us can, because that's very, 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 very common, that when your toddler says no, you reprimand them or punish them for saying no. Do what I say, don't say no. But there's a way to engage them without, like I said, destroying their ability to say no. And I teach that in that other course. So how do we guard their heart? Well, first of all, we want to make sure we don't take away their most basic boundary. And then we want to learn to connect with their heart. And see, what happens is, if we don't learn to connect with their heart, then we grow up and we feel distant from our children, like we're there but we're not connected. And that chasm and that separation grows over time, the less and less that we connect with their heart. And that when they get to be teenagers, they feel like we don't have any understanding of them at all. You just don't understand me, Mom. It's a typical teenage adage, right? So what we have to do in order to connect with their heart is that we have to learn to speak the language of the heart, which is feelings or emotions. Just realized I didn't have my headset in. I'm going to put this in because I think the sound is a little bit better. Sorry about that. There we go. Hopefully you could hear that first part. I'll go back and check it. If it's bad, I'll redo it. Anyway, so we have to learn to speak the language of the heart, which is feelings. Now, feelings is something that we haven't been taught how to manage feelings for the most part. Our parents didn't teach us. And so when our children have negative emotions and things going on, our natural response is to kind of squash that emotion or sweep it away or get rid of it, or instead of connecting with it. And the reality is when your child is having a negative emotion, it's the best time to connect with them. Now, in a baby, let's talk about babies a little bit first. Yeah. So how do you connect with your babies? How do you respond to his emotions? Because if emotions or feelings are the language of the heart, if you ignore their feelings, you're ignoring their heart, and that's not guarding it. So when your baby cries, you want to respond. We've already talked about that. But there is so much power just in that, just in responding to your child's cry for attention or help or whatever it is. So when you respond to his cries promptly and consistently, he learns that he's important, but he also feels safe because you're guarding his heart. You're letting him know that his cry, his plea for help is heard. So we can't just deposit into the heart. We have to listen then when his heart is speaking to us, and that's part of that heart connection. So we learned how to program his heart. Now we need to learn how to listen to and respond to the language of his heart. And I say his and him because I grew up in the 60s and 70s when that was the default neutral pronoun. I hope nobody takes offense over that. Anyway, I've been meaning to say that and haven't yet, so I thought I'd say that. So also engaging them in play. So when playing for a baby is work. That's their primary occupation as a growing human, is to play, because play is how he learns about the world, how he develops, just all sorts of skills. But that social and emotional interaction that happens during play is incredibly important for him to learn that he has value, that he's important, and that, his needs and desires, which are, come from his heart, are important to you, that you can collaborate together and he can depend on you to be there for him. And so that's another great way to connect with his heart, is just to play with him. Talking to him about his own feelings, like, there's not, you're sad, you need mommy.
just the little, I mean, there's not a lot to talk about. Oh, you're frustrated. You can't turn over yet, or you can't reach that toy. That's frustrating. So the first step in helping guard your child's heart is to help him identify emotions. And emotions and feelings are an abstract concept. And so by giving them a name, it makes the child or the baby feel like it gives them something to latch on to. Again, it's not happening up here, but he's getting that sense that you know what this is. And if it has a name, it must be normal. And so just identifying feelings that you see your child having is the first step in connecting with his heart. All right. So actually, the first step is allowing. Sometimes, when your child, like we were saying, has a negative emotion, expressing, say a toddler is crying because he wants something, we usually say, it's okay, don't cry. That doesn't help him. It's not okay to him. That's why he's crying, whatever it is. And so what we have to stop being afraid of negative emotions, and we've been afraid because we didn't know what to do with them. So we don't want our kids to feel negative emotions. We don't want them to be upset or disturbed. And so all we know how to do is say, don't feel that way. But that's not helpful because they do feel that way. And we don't choose our emotions. They happen automatically. So allowing their emotions and identifying it, just saying, I see you're frustrated, is so incredibly helpful to the child. Here's the reality is that emotions are created as the brain secretes certain chemical sets, combinations, go into the bloodstream and create certain feelings. And that's why we feel it in our body. And the liver and the body systems will naturally filter out those chemicals within about 90 seconds or less. The strongest emotions will start. And that's why when you feel very strongly about something, you're angry, when you just wait a minute, you calm down because your body those emotions are dissipating. The chemical set that creates that feeling is dissipating and being, broken down in the body. And so if you suppress the emotion, it actually escalates it. So if your little one is upset and you suppress it and you try to say, don't feel that way, it's okay, stop crying, we'll do that later, you're not addressing it, you're trying to suppress it, it actually makes it escalate. Because think about it, if I'm drowning and I say, help, help, and someone says, be quiet, I go, I'm going to scream even louder, help, help, no, I need help, I'm drowning. And so a negative emotion is like your heart crying, help, help, I need help. I don't feel good here, something isn't right. And so when we respond to it, then the cry for help you don't need to cry for help anymore, right? If I'm drowning and someone throws me a lifeline, I don't need to keep calling for help. But if no one's listening, I'm going to cry even louder until someone hears me. And that is actually what a tantrum is. It's the ultimate cry for help. And it means that there's been an emotion that hasn't been addressed. And so the child continues to escalate his cry for help. So don't be afraid of the negative emotions. They're actually the best time to connect with your child. Let's see here. And so the way that you connect with them is that you allow the emotion, you identify it, and you empathize. Yeah, I know it's really disappointing not to be able to play at the park or have that toy. I know, I really wish I had your favorite cereal today. And for an infant, it's really just making sure that they're comforted when they're upset. But as your child gets a little bit older, you'll see them be frustrated when they're trying to get a toy and they can't get it. And just by identifying and say, oh, you're frustrated, let me help you get that toy. And you're letting them know that the cry of their heart is heard and that you respond to it. So it just creates an incredible, solid foundation, a sense of security and confidence and safety in the child that's going to it's really going to help them just be so successful in life because they'll have that safety net. They won't be afraid of being left alone. There was one popular psychologist on, she does a lot of videos on YouTube. Her name is Dr. Tori Olds, and she takes some very common and sometimes complex human issues and makes them very simple. And I like listening to her for that reason. And one of the things she said is when a child is left alone with a negative emotion, it is by nature overwhelming. They don't have the tools to deal with it. And so we haven't known how to deal with it. So it's, as you can see, this is a very simple process. All the kingdom keys are so simple. Anyone can learn them and use them. It's not complicated. Even the least of these can learn these things and use them and just create such an incredibly different life for their children, for themselves. So helping your child, connecting with him, identifying, empathizing with your child's emotions, and then being there for him when he has these episodes and letting him know it's okay. That it's okay to have negative emotions, and because not being afraid of it ourselves, knowing that it's normal, allowing him to express, because allowing him to express it actually makes it dissipate quicker than trying to suppress it, which just causes that emotion to escalate. So validating feelings is the best way to build a healthy self-image, because feelings are the expression of our heart, and our heart is our true self. So when we connect with our children through emotions, we're validating the very core of their being. And we also draw closer to them through every interaction. That's why you have feelings of distance with your children, is because that emotional connection isn't there. And so this is a very simple, easy way to start connecting emotionally. And you can use this with any age. You can use it with your spouse. See, Kingdom Keys don't just work for kids. All the things you learn in my courses are great for any relationships. Okay? Like speaking affirmations, telling your spouse or your friend or your sibling or whatever, your boss, who they really are. They're amazing. Even when they're not acting amazing, it kind of raises the bar, like, oh, I'm amazing. I better act amazing. I had that happen recently. Oh my gosh, what was that? And I was going to share it. Somebody told me something about me. It was just a compliment. Oh, I wish I could remember it. Maybe it'll come to me before I'm done. But it made me want to be more like that. And that's what it does. When someone tells you you're incredibly gifted at something, you're like, you just try to do it better. But when someone criticizes, that actually has the opposite effect. We don't try to be better. When someone criticizes us, we give up. So we'll talk about that in the next video a little bit more. So, and when we validate feelings, the last benefit is that it's what we all desire. It makes us feel accepted, and that's what we all desire, to be accepted and loved for who we are. So now this is just a really quick overview of another course that I have called Heart to Heart Parenting. So if you want to go through this a little more in depth, you can look for that course on my course list. It's called Heart to Heart Parenting. And it goes through this process of allowing, identifying, empathizing with your child's feelings, kind of the benefits and some scenarios, and just more in depth. I think it's 7 very short, less than 10-minute videos that course involves. But I recommend that if I recommend that. That's one of my core courses that is so incredibly helpful for all ages of children, and like I said, including even adults. So that's all I have for now about how to guard your child's heart and to help him begin to understand that it's important to guard his heart and how to do it himself. And as you do this with him as he grows up, he'll begin to recognize his own feelings and understand that they're healthy and acceptable, and how to just allow himself to feel, and also what to expect from other people, not to cross that boundary and violate his feelings. Like, his feelings are important. How he feels is true. It's not right or wrong. It's how he feels, whether it's good or bad. We all respond to situations differently emotionally. So the same situation might make you very sad, and it might not affect me at all. We see that kind of thing all the time. You might get a big kick out of something that I'm just like, whatever. So, so feelings, we can't judge them as right or wrong, and we want to make sure that, and that's that old knowledge of right and wrong, good and evil, that just isn't helpful. It brings death. And so we want to honor our children's feelings and emotions, and thereby we are validating and guarding their heart. So I hope this has been helpful. I've got, I think, one more video for you in this course, and you don't want to miss this one. This is the secret to successful parenting, and this is really my life message, and I love teaching it. It's the rocket fuel for your child's life. And anyway, so we will end with that in the next video. I'm pretty sure that'll be the last one. So until then, take care and God bless. See you there.